Welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm Jennifer Loading, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends. These are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Well, I'm super excited about my guest today, and not because of her story, but because of what happened in the aftermath of her story. And so I just met her recently at a networking event and was just I don't know, her energy and her, I don't know what you want to call it, mojo. I just really liked her whole energy and everything about her. But to tell you a little bit about her before we bring her on, she had what I think was a near-death experience back in July of 2015 when she was traveling for work. She was due to get on an airplane to come back to Dallas. And before that happened, she never made it to the plane because she had a massive heart attack. And she says that there was only one person in the office that knew exactly what to do. And because of that, she's here today. And so I am excited to get her on here and tell her story and talk about what she's doing to pay it forward and help people in her community. But before we do that, we have to do a shout out to our sponsors. And so today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photography. If you are a creator needing post-production, consultation, or promotion, Walt Mills is your guy. Whether short films, YouTube films, photography work, a new headshot, he can help you find a solution to meet your needs. To learn more about Walt and his work, you're going to want to go to photosbywalt.com. We also want to give a shout out to our friend Chris Clow of Upbeat Media Production. If you are in need of turnkey special events, Clow is your go-to. To learn more about him and his work, you're going to want to go to upbeatmediapro.com. All right, it is time to welcome our guest to the show. Another day, another episode of Behind the Dreamers, and another amazing guest. Denise Castille is the owner and CEO of Any Day CPR Training LLC, a company that promises to deliver an exceptional CPR, AED, and First Aid training experience. In her quest to pay it forward to other heart event survivors, Denise founded and currently sits as the executive director of Fresh Start for Your Heart, a 501c3 nonprofit. She's the author of I Don't Want to Die Like This, a survivor's guide to thriving after a heart attack. And she holds a Distinguished Toastmaster designation from Toastmasters International. So she has so many things. I just had to kind of sum this up and get all the big main highlights here because she's just an amazing person. And so Denise, we want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
This is going to be fun. And to our audience, we kind of noted that we both have on these like bright color shirts today. So we're like vibing. We got the energy going here. It's going to be fun. Yeah. All right. So Denise, I want to open this up because obviously I kind of touched a little bit about your journey. And like I said, in the beginning, I met you at an event and I heard your story when you were up there in front of, the group of people. And I was like, oh my goodness, I need to talk to this lady. She's got this overcoming story. But I think the thing that's really neat about this is that you had this story and you now used it in another purpose. You took that and you're using it for good to pay it forward and help people. So let's open it up with that. Tell us a little bit about, Any Day CPR, what you guys are doing and how you're helping, your customers with that.
Absolutely, Jennifer. We teach CPR certification and we teach that to communities that need the certification because of their job. But we are also super excited that we realize that not everybody has to have a CPR certification. So we welcome the opportunity to do CPR community, where we engage with our community and teach them those life-saving skills. No certification, it's free, and it's something that we absolutely love doing because at the end of the day for us, we want to increase the number of bystanders who can help someone who is in peril and needs their help. So that's what we're doing. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I like kind of your position on that because it's not just about like, hey, do we teach you CPR? It's about, you said, the number of bystanders, the people on the other side going into these, in these places because that one person can make a difference.
That one person can absolutely make a difference, Jennifer. A couple of weeks ago, we were at Chipotle. We were at Chipotle in McKinney, And I typically am not super observant. But this time I was. I looked out the window and I saw that two young ladies were lowering somebody from a car to the ground. And when we got over there, I asked, did you call 911? And I had to do compressions. And Miss Shirley, who's my mom, everybody knows her as Miss Shirley, she was going from business to business asking, do you have an AED? And thankfully, the young lady did survive. And I realized that there is still so much work to do because people didn't just respond, no, we don't have an AED. Their response was, what is that? What is an AED? And it just said to us, there is still so much work to do. And I feel that it's my responsibility. It's part of what I'm here today. I survived the Widowmaker heart attack. I have some responsibility now. This is a way that I show my gratitude for still being here. So there's still much work to do with teaching people life-saving skills.
Yeah, I love that. And I think this would be a perfect place for you to tell us what an AED is, because I'm sure somebody listening to this is going to go, yes, exactly. Tell me what that is.
Absolutely. An AED is an automated external defibrillator. An automated external defibrillator, it has some patches. We've seen them. Probably what people have a reference to is when we see a medical show and they put the paddles on and they say, okay, stand back. And then the person kind of moves up. Well, an AED has those pads in there. They could be portable and they provide a shock if the heart needs it. And it is critical in providing that life-saving help that a person needs. Early defibrillation.
Yeah.
They can absolutely save a life.
Thank you for sharing that. Wow. I love it. So I read something. I was going through like your website and kind of looking because, before I bring people on here, I really like to get in and dig and kind of see what's their languaging they're using, about their passion and all of that stuff. And so, I mentioned in your bio about the experience that you create. And so I obviously can tell you've got great energy, and I'm sure the people that are taking the courses with you guys are having fun. So tell us a little bit about like, what is that's making you unique there? Because I'm kind of curious about that.
Well, one of the things that we do, Jennifer, is everybody has to touch the mannequins. We get so many students who come in and they say, oh my gosh, I've never had a class like this before. It's absolutely amazing. Everybody has to touch the mannequins. Everybody has to go through my scenarios. Everybody has to sometimes I say to them when we're going through some of the stages that I know it makes you kind of feel like you look goofy doing this, but that's all right. You have to do it anyway. And that's one of the things that people leave saying, oh my gosh, Denise, this was the best class ever, because I know that it's very, very serious. And I absolutely take it serious. We like to think of ourselves as being fun, but firm. So you're going to have a good time here, but you also are going to get in here. And when you leave with the confidence of knowing I did everything that I needed to do to prove that I could save a life if I needed to.
Fun. I'm just thinking it would be a lot of fun. And the reason I even bring this up is because back when my kids were younger, they're all adults now, but I was a Girl Scout troop leader for my oldest for a really long time. And we would have to do the first aid and safety. And I always hated those CPR classes. And it was because we'd go in there and we would get some boring instructor and we'd have to touch the mannequins and we'd feel that goofy that you're talking about. And I'd just be like, can we just please get through the CPR? Can we just get that knocked out, So hey, I wish I'd have known you back then. I would have been in your CPR course.
Absolutely, Jennifer.
Instructors make a difference, right? And I think energy and atmosphere is a huge part of keeping audience participation and attention where it needs to be, right? Like nobody wants to be in a boring class.
Absolutely. And we love changing the narrative. Recently, last week, we had the pleasure of teaching the Texas Legends coaches. and it was 10 of them. And I know that they were like, oh my gosh, we have to do this. But if you see pictures, you look at the pictures and think, okay, I thought it was a CPR class. It was, but we had the absolute best time. So I love having these CPR conversations and really just changing the narrative about how we can engage people to make them want to be bystanders.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I guess the big deal, that I love about you is it's kind of like, I sort of feel about coaches, because I feel like there's a lot of, and I'm not talking about like, athlete type coaches. I'm talking about like personal development type coaches, business coaches. I feel like there's a lot of us out there, and many of them, not all of them, but a lot of them decide, hey, I want to be a coach. And so they'll go and they'll get a certification, they become a coach. And then I feel like there are people that have had life experiences that sort of have had a lot of training, and they sort of kind of move into that. And that's a little bit really how I segued into the coaching. So I always say, and I said this on the previous episode, when I find people to bring on this show, there's a part of what they're doing that's resonating with my ideology and how my methodology in business and how I operate at the core. And it's a really holistic nature, and that we're coming from a derived passion. Something has really propelled us into this calling and doing the things that we love to do. And so that's when when we got on here, I said, I feel your energy, because I already know you're passionate about what you do. It's written all over your body, your the way you're talking and all of that. And I think that that's contagious. I think that it is hard to not want to be around somebody who is passionate about what they're doing. Would you
Absolutely.
not? I mean, you know what I mean?
I agree wholeheartedly. I absolutely agree. Yeah.
And I think if you're not doing something that you are really passionate about, you're just missing out on life. you need. It's unfortunate that, you and I had to have these, and mine was really a medical thing too. That's not a death thing, but it could have been that way if I'd have let it go on long enough, just because of the depression that was tied to it. But it's unfortunate that we had to have that. But in the aftermath that, people have asked me, and I don't know if you've come to this place where people will say, do you wish you never went through those things? And I would say, listen, I don't wish those things on anybody. But it's those things that make us who we are today. And it's what we do with that knowledge when we walk away and how we use it to help other people. That's what counts.
Jennifer, Miss Shirley, who's also my mom, we were having this exact same conversation, because as I was thinking about and preparing for my time with you, I thought about the fact that I had the Widowmaker heart attack, because in a lot of ways, Jennifer, I believe that it could have been prevented if my doctors who were treating me, if they had done some things differently. And I really, that first year, I struggled. I struggled with being angry. I was angry that how dare you? If you would have just listened to me, then I would not have happened. And as time has gone on, I realized that if they had prevented it, if something had happened, then there wouldn't be a nonprofit. I wouldn't be teaching CPR. I wouldn't have written that particular book. So to your point, absolutely, I wouldn't wish that or that experience with those types of doctors. I don't wish that on anybody. But because of that, I'm on the other side of it. Oh my goodness. I find myself being full of gratitude, full of gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can feel that you were giving me chills again when you were talking about that, because I went through a period of time with that too, where when I finally got to a place where I resolved it, and I didn't do it by medicinal means, I did it holistically. And when you did that, in fact, I tell this story in my book that I went into a holistic practitioner, and this was probably back in 2015 when I was still running my other business. And he said to me, what were you doing in your life that contributed to this? And at that time I was bitter. I was angry. I was like, wait a minute. I went into a dentist and this triggered all of this for me. Like, I was perfectly fine before this happened. Well, then fast forward when I wrote my book in 2019, and now I had gotten to a place where I was healing myself, both physically and mentally. And I'd come to a different place where I could start really removing myself out of the subject, come more to an objective space where I could come back and look into this. And I was able to address that question from a different perspective, because there were things that were going on that were contributing to that. And some of those were a lack of, some of it was in the doctor space. They weren't picking up on things, and they were tossing me around and telling me I was crazy. And I was, not that I was having anxiety, and that was part of the problem. But more from my perspective, it was what I was doing. I was running, 3 kids around. They were 16, 12, and 8 at the time. I was homeroom mom, PTA mom, running a business, field trip mom, and sometimes going to the same field trip 3 times in a week, because I went with all 3 of them at different times. And so I found myself even though I was working out every day, I found myself in the fast food lane a lot. So my life was very, very chaotic. And I ended up in my book later writing a chapter about minimalism and letting it go, letting things go, and not needing to feel the need that I had to do all the things, but also, to your point, come to terms and make peace with the things that happened so that I could use what happened to move forward and do what I need to do.
Absolutely, Jennifer. And I think, and we haven't discussed this aspect, but I think that along those journeys, we both learned about advocacy and what that looks like for us when it comes to our health, and taking those same advocacy skill sets to our businesses and our families, but advocating for ourselves. So I think that there is so much that we've gained because of those particular journeys that we were on.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I said your story, even though it's completely different from mine, it resonated at the core. When I heard you speak that day, I was like, okay, I got to talk to her. So, well, I love overcoming stories. I just think I think they're the best, because it really shows the grit and character of a human being, and also that the body is a miraculous piece of work. It can heal itself if given the proper care and nutrition and all the things. It can miraculously pull itself back together. So you're a testament to that.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you a little bit about your foundation, because obviously you've got that going on. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with that, and what you're doing out there with it.
Okay. Fresh Start for Your Heart. As you know, as you've already said, all of those things came as a result of surviving the Widowmaker heart attack. And something that I like to share with people is, when that happened, I, of course, was out of town. I was traveling, and I didn't know it, but I wasn't going to be able to travel. I couldn't travel for back home. So Miss Shirley had come to Michigan, where I was, and we were there just under a month. And when we came home, I didn't know what to expect about my new life. And some friends greeted us with lots of heart healthy groceries. And I asked what everybody would do. Hey, how can I ever thank you for this? And their response was, do it for someone else. And it took me about 2 years or so to figure out what that doing it for someone else meant. I took them literally. I don't know if that's what they wanted me to do, but I took them literally. So the organization was founded to provide heart healthy groceries to individuals who are recovering from a heart event. And while we still do that, I realize that some preventative things that we can do to help folks, so that we don't have to continue to have the statistic that heart disease is the number one or the leading cause of death. There's some things that we can do. So now we have embarked on providing heart healthy food and access to heart healthy food to underserved in the Collin County, DFW, and beyond. So that's what we're doing. And we provide support and resources when it comes to cardiovascular health.
Yeah, I love it. You've just got all these little extensions that kind of really just overlap each other, which I think is really good. And then your book, does this talk about your journey, or is this kind of what you've learned in the process? Tell us a little bit about that.
The book, Jennifer, is all of the things. It is that journey from before it happened, because people would ask me, well, what happened? Did you have any symptoms? Did you have any signs? And I went back to 7 months before the heart attack. And there were symptoms. There were conversations that I had with my doctor. So I wanted people to know what that looked like. So everything about what it looked like leading up to that, the actual event, the heart event, as well as the aftermath or the afterglow, as I like to think about it, all those things that happen as a result, including some lessons that I've learned. All of those things are in the book.
Love it. I love it. We'll have to check it out for sure. And we'll make sure when we get down at the end, you can tell everybody where to find that. So those are the best. Those are the best because like I said, I think it goes back to, that journey and what comes out of that in the end, because so many people have stories and they let it just basically define them. And that's the end for them. It just becomes who they are. They have a condition and they're like, in the aftermath that I had this condition, and I feel a sense that I don't always like to say, I know how people think and, that we're all alike, but I feel like you have that fire in you. That's just like, I'm not going to be a victim of something. I'm not going to allow something to lock me into a definition or a box or, and so I can absolutely resonate with that on my end too.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to segue because I think the hardest thing, I would say, what's the hardest thing? You going through that definitely is one of the hardest things. But as an entrepreneur, because we get a lot of different people that listen to this show, we've got some people that are in that space where they're trying to maybe do something different, whether that's, run their first marathon or whatever. And then we've got the entrepreneur people. I feel like all these things are tied together. The overcoming in the journey, the athlete, they all have some overcoming something they have to get through to get to the other side. So as an entrepreneur, what I would love to ask you is, what do you feel like has probably been the biggest challenge or maybe the hardest thing you had to get through in developing this business, like get this thing on the other side and get it moving?
I think the hardest challenge was getting the name out. And I'm still doing that. I think that's a constant challenge. It's the brand awareness, wanting people to take me seriously, wanting people to recognize that I can do that. Because people will say, for example, we go to this place to get our CPR. And it's the brand awareness, it's building the brand. For me, has been the most challenging aspect of that. Competing with other larger brands that people are more familiar with, and just carving out that space for me in this place, realizing that there is enough business for everybody. So for me, the challenge has been, and that's been the case for both the CPR business as well as the nonprofit. You would think that, it's a nonprofit. You're giving things away. It should be easy for you to give, and it's not. It's letting people know that we're here and that we exist. So the building the brand awareness is a constant struggle.
Yeah. And to your point, I would agree with you. I feel like that is a common thread amongst many of the entrepreneurs that I work with and talk to. But also to your point about the nonprofit, because I do know a lot of people that run nonprofits, and you are absolutely right. It is an organization. It is still a living body of people breathing and manpower. And, and I've had several people on this show that are doing nonprofits. And that's kind of the common thing. They really love what they do, but it's just making that awareness of, hey, we're here and we can help, but we also need supporters and we need people to know we're here to make it work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not an easy thing. And it's funny because I've had people even ask, they're like, who do you know that's run a nonprofit? Because they need to learn how to do it. You think you're just going to start up something and it's going to be that easy, but no, there's like stuff you got to do to make it happen, You
do.
So
you absolutely.
Yeah, there was.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I did it, so filling out the paperwork and getting the answer back that, yes, you've been approved and you've got this tax exempt status. Then it was a matter of, okay, now what? And I found myself, and again, same thing with the CPR business, but then aligning myself with people who are already doing it. So joining some Facebook groups or joining some meetups, taking some classes, the nonprofit lab. I don't know them, but I took some classes, just learning from people who are already doing what it is that I want to do.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And you do. I mean, that's how we learn, is by finding people that are doing where we want to be and learning what they're doing. Right.
Absolutely.
So good stuff. So maybe for a new entrepreneur, you talked about the challenges. We talked about what you're doing. Let's talk about this. What advice would you give, since you are, kind of starting this out, what advice would you give to somebody that's maybe deciding they want to, I don't know, start a new business? They got an idea and they want to bring it to light.
Jennifer, I would say, number one, get a mentor or a business coach, somebody like yourself who is a coach. So get that and utilize them for accountability. So number one, get a mentor and or a business coach. The next thing I would say is, I mentioned it before about go where those people are. For me, for example, in the CPR space, we have CPR groups. So I've joined Facebook groups. I've started some Facebook groups for the CPR community. For us in CPR, we have a premier CPR conference that is hosted. Go to those things. So find out what the people in the industry or the business where you are trying to carve out a space, find out what they're doing and mirror it. Copy what it is that they're doing. And then I think it's important to get really good at the thing, because I can certainly be an instructor and I believe that training is my jam. That's what I do. So I believe you have to get good at the thing, whatever that is, and then determine, in order for me to take the next step, in order for me to go to the next level, what does that mean? Does it mean that I have to actually start a business? Because maybe it's not. So I think you have to get good at what it is that the thing is, and then be real with yourself. I'm really good at this, and it doesn't mean that I have to start a business, because everybody may not need to be a business owner, right? So I think that all of those things, mentor, go where they are, get good at the thing, and then be real with yourself. Is this the next path for me?
Yeah, I like that. I like that you said get good at the thing too, because I feel like in the space I'm in, because I'm working with, so many different people, that people tend to hop around with things, like they do something and then they go, well, I tried that and it didn't work. And then my question always is, how did you know after one try that it didn't work? I mean, that's like, to me, going and running a 5K and you go, well, that didn't work. I mean, you did it one time. How do you know? Like when you were a baby, you walked and you didn't get up and go, oh my gosh, I fell down. I'm just not going to walk today. I mean, hello, we just got up and walked, or we rode our bicycles, right? We learned to ride a bike.
Exactly, Jennifer. One of the things, and I noticed this in my CPR community, somebody might pop on and say, hey, has anybody ever taught people how to be a CNA? Oh, I'm interested. And people say, I'm interested. Somebody else might say, oh, we're going to start selling fire extinguishers. Oh my gosh, tell me, I want to do that. I want to sell fire extinguishers too. You name it. Oh, I want to do that too. Oh, I'm going to do that too. Right. But you haven't gotten good at the thing. So focus on the thing and see how that's working for you. And again, just to piggyback off of what you said, do it more than one time.
Yeah. You did. That was good. That was so funny because it's so true. It's like people are like, they're cyclical. I mean, they repeat that over. It's like every little squirrel that comes out, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this thing. And for me, and I'm sure it's the same for you as a coach, when I'm working with people and they're like, well, I talked to this person, so I'm going to try this. I talked to this person, I'm going to try this. Okay. I am all for talking to people. And I'm all for getting ideas, and I'm all for trying things. I am not such a square peg that I say you don't need to evolve. We all need to evolve. But I don't know how you ever get good at any one thing if you keep hopping around from thing to thing and never perfecting your craft, you know, and like really focusing on, let me try this for a while and see if I enjoy it and I can get better at it, you know?
Yes, yes, Jennifer. Yes.
Humans are fun. That's why I said you can learn a lot by sitting back and watching people more so than what they explicitly say to you.
Absolutely. Just watch.
Oh, this is so good. One more question I want to ask you, and then we'll do a couple fun ones. And I think this is one of my favorite because I think it just gets kind of at the core. What do you feel like you've learned in this journey about yourself?
I have learned on this journey that fortunately no one can hear what Miss Shirley is saying. But Miss Shirley, my mom, she's right. One of the things I've learned is that I am a little tad bit impatient. And what I mean by that specifically, particularly when it comes to the business and the nonprofit, is I want it and I want it now. I want to do, I don't care how long, I want it right now. And one of the things she says to me all the time, do not despise small beginnings. And she has to say it a lot, but it's getting in there. I have to be patient with myself and trust the process. So what am I learning? Yes, I've learned about myself that I'm a tad bit impatient, but I'm learning to trust the process. Yeah, trust the process.
I love that, Denise. Miss Shirley is a wise woman. I love it.
Indeed, indeed.
So good, so good. All right, well, this has been amazing. I want to do a couple fun questions for you. Not that these haven't been great, but I think these are my favorite because they're a little more lighthearted and we get to have just a little bit of fun on the show. And so I'm going to start this off with, I call them rapid fire. They are never rapid because I don't know, we haven't mastered the art of being rapid, but we attempt. Anyway, so my first question I want to ask you is, what was the first concert you ever attended?
Oh, wow. I'm going to date myself. The very first concert that I ever attended was Luther Vandross and Shirley Murdoch.
Oh, my goodness. How fun.
I just dated myself. But
hey, this is so good. I love this question because I've never had the same one come through, never had the same thing. And sometimes what people say to me is so surprising because I was not expecting that at all. I'm like, really? So you know what? You want to know what my first concert? I was telling my husband this the other day because I was talking about this. I said, my real first concert I attended when I was in middle school was Dirty Dancing, back when Dirty Dancing was big. I went with my mom and a friend. That was my first one. But my real first concert I went to when I was by myself with a friend, I was 17. We went to Motley Crue.
Really?
Back when we were living in Houston, and it was back when the Summit was the Summit. And that was like my first. I've actually seen them several times since, but yeah, that was my first real concert.
I love it.
That's why I love this question. You can find out all kinds of fun things about people. Okay, so favorite travel destination? Any place in particular?
Well, here's the thing. You're asking some awesome rapid fire questions. We, Miss Shirley and I, we're cruisers. We love to cruise. And I would say one of our favorite bestesses cruise was when I took her on a Mediterranean cruise for her 70th birthday. It was absolutely amazing. We went to the port in Italy. So that was where we ported out of. It was an amazing cruise. So I would say that that's probably our favorite vacation. Destination, we love Aruba. Beautiful, beautiful.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun. I like cruising too, so I can certainly understand that too.
Yes.
We took our kids on a Disney cruise back in like 2009. And I am like a Disney fan at heart. Like I think Disney is just magical because it's fairy tale, you know, like you can just be whatever. I don't think anybody was impressed as much as me when we went on that cruise. I think it was for me. It was totally for me.
Absolutely.
I had the bet. They were so like, singy and dancy and just, fun energy, warm, fuzzy feels. Yeah, fun stuff. All right. Favorite, because I know you're probably like I am now and take care of yourself and all that good stuff. But I do always love to ask this question of us because we are conscientious about the things we put in our bodies. So favorite guilty pleasure food, like the one thing that you just really, really like.
The thing that I really, really like is, I have to give you two.
Okay, fine. Go for two.
Are York peppermint patties. And I don't know why. Because I don't like thin mint cookies.
Yeah.
Well, I love a York. I love them. I absolutely love those. And the other thing, on the surface, you might think, well, Denise, that's not a guilty pleasure food. It's fruit snacks.
Fruit snacks.
Here's why it's problematic. It can be problematic. It's because I eat several of them. I'll go in the box and I have several in this hand and then several in that hand.
That's so funny.
Good. It's no longer good for you what I do.
Yeah. It's funny that you would say that too, because my son is traveling for work right now. He's on a NRO team, which is like a new restaurant opening team. And so he's 18 and he's in Florida. And so I sent him some clothes in a box, like a care package, and I put fruit snacks in them because he loves fruit snacks. And they have to be Welch's fruit snacks. They got to be the Welch's, because here's the funny thing, Denise, he thinks they're healthier than the other fruit snacks.
He is my kind of person, because in our minds, it starts off that way. I mean,
right.
Love it. Oh my goodness.
Fruit snacks. We won't count the sugar in there, right? But we didn't know about it. I guess it's better than like something else. I mean, it's got a little fruit juice in there, so it's better than something else. But hey, I'm all about, all things in moderation. Like I tell people, I don't crave a lot of sugar anymore, so I'm pretty good. But every now and then I want some ice cream or I want some dark chocolate. And you know what? I'm going to eat it.
Exactly. And you should. And dark chocolate's good for the heart. So.
Oh, I know. Dark chocolate. Do you know what, Denise, though, when I was growing up, you're going to die, because I know I tell everybody, like, I'm pushing this big number, but I will say up until like my mid 40s, I hated chocolate. I absolutely hated chocolate. Oh, and then I went keto for 2 years, and all of a sudden I decided that dark chocolate is really good.
And it really is good. Yeah.
Don't ask me what happened to me for that 40 something years. I don't know. But now I'm just like, give me dark chocolate.
Yes.
Isn't that funny?
And it's good.
Denise, this has been so much fun. I've enjoyed chatting with you. I knew this was going to be a good episode. And so I do want to ask you, for our audience, if they want to come check out, Any Day CPR, learn a little bit more about your foundation, your book, where do we want to send them to find out these things?
So we want to send them to anydaycpr.com or
freshstartheart.org.
That's about the foundation. And of course, on Amazon.com, you can go on and get the book. And Amazon Prime, you can have it to you in a day or two. So,
okay, perfect. We'll make sure too, when we get, all the bells and whistles on this and we get it out, we'll make sure that all the links are connected. That way everybody knows where to find you on the sites and stuff. So I get it. I got like several pages too. It's like, where do we send them all, right? Get them all in there. We'll make sure it gets to the right place. So I just want to say to you, thanks so much for your authenticity, opening up to our audience, sharing what you're doing, keep doing your thing and shining and changing lives. Cause that's what it's about, is helping people be better. And you're doing a good thing.
I appreciate you so much, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And we do, of course, want to say to our audience, if you enjoy our show, please be sure you give us a rating, both on iTunes, Facebook. We can't do this without you. Hit that subscribe button on the YouTube. And we want to leave you with our final thought. We say it every single week. In order to live the extraordinary, you have to start. And every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We will see you next time.